To the Minister for Workplace Relations and Safety, what recent announcements has she made in her workplace relations and safety portfolio?
Mr Speaker.
The Honourable Brooke van Velden.
Mr Speaker, this coalition government has been working hard in the lead up to Christmas, and I'm pleased to share it has been a busy month for my workplace relations and safety portfolio. Over the past month, I've announced a high income threshold for unjustified dismissal personal grievances, the removal of remedies for personal grievances in cases where the employee contributed to the grievance, the reintroduction of wage deductions for partial strikes. I've asked my officials to develop an hours-based accrual system for annual leave, and today I announced the new minimum wage rate for 2025 in order to give businesses certainty leading into the new year. Together, these changes will help rebalance the employment relations landscape.
Just stop for a minute. Now, that constant barrage across the House is not acceptable. Rare and reasonable was the deal. The Minister will continue.
Thank you. Together, these changes will help rebalance the employment relations landscape, make it easier to hire workers, and reduce compliance costs so that both workers and employers can focus on what they do best.
Supplementary. How will your announced changes affect employers?
Mr Speaker, I've met a lot of employers up and down the country, and I know that these changes will be welcomed by many. Dealing with vexatious personal grievances can be extremely stressful for employers who can find themselves facing large and unanticipated costs. An employer's own well-being and reputation can be harmed throughout the grievance process, yet for employers there is no recourse. Reintroducing wage deductions for partial strikes will be particularly welcomed by employers with workers in customer-serving industries, where it is often the public that suffer as a consequence of partial strikes. And employers have welcomed the decision I've made to scrap the previous government's approach to fixing the Holidays Act and pursue a much simpler and more workable path of an hours-based accrual to annual leave.
Excellent.
Supplementary. So, how will your announced changes affect workers?
Mr Speaker, these changes recognise and reward the hard-working, aspirational Kiwis out there who are doing their best to make a good living for themselves and the people they care about. The changes to personal grievances will improve workplace culture and morale. Many workers will be able to recall a time they've had to work with a difficult employee.
The Minister will just stop. I just spoke to the House about the constant barrage of interjections, none of which are reasonable, are certainly not rare. I point the House to Speaker's ruling 65-2 by Assistant Speaker Robertson and Speaker Wilson, and suggest that that is the course that we're going to follow. The Minister can start the answer again.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. These changes recognise and reward the hard-working, aspirational Kiwis out there who are doing their best to make a good living for themselves and the people they care about. The changes to personal grievances will improve workplace culture and morale. Many workers will be able to recall a time they've had to work with a difficult employee or manager. This change is for workers who find it galling that the worst behaviour or mediocre performance receives a financial payout. An hours-based accrual system for annual leave will reduce the risk of underpayment that has plagued the current Holidays Act, and the 1.5% increase to the minimum wage rate that I've announced today will make sure young people continue to have the opportunity to get their first job, enjoy their newfound sense of responsibility, and build those necessary life skills that will take them far in their career ahead.
Yeah.